Good morning, Sakir. Good morning. How are you? It's always nice to see you. I appreciate your consistency tremendously. I forgot to put on earrings. Maybe I should put on earrings. I'm doing okay. I have perpetual confusion about my relationship to time. It is now 10:23, and I don't know what the day will hold. But I'm basically okay. On average, I'm average. Shema Yisrael Asher Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Vahafta et anat Elohecha ובכל לבבך, ובכל נפשך, ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה, אשר נחיל מצווך, היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. וחיה, כי ויחיה אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר נשבע לעבדיך, לאברהם ליצחק וליעקב, לתת לך ערים גדולות וטובות אשר לא בנית, ובתים מלאים כל טובה אשר למילת, וברות הצווים אשר לא עשת, כערים בזיתים אשר נתת, והלכת ושבעת. הישמר לך פן תשכח את יהוה אשר תישך מארץ מצרים מבית עבדים. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Listen, Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, are one. All this is one. All the good, all the bad, all the suffering, all the joy, all the loneliness, all the community, all this is one, is part of the same thing that you are also a part of. And the partness is an illusion, for all of it is whole and complete. Always was, always will be, despite the experience of separation that allows us to experience our lives. About 21 ducks. Briefly, I do think about retirement all the time, although the concept of retirement does not really apply to me. the lifestyle that I've chosen, the career paths that I've chosen, mean that I will never retire. I will never stop working. I live on a commune, which is a risky business, but should the community succeed and become prosperous, then in a certain economic sense, the commune is my retirement plan, because when I get too old to make as much income as I currently make, my expectation is that there will be others that I live with that will fill in those gaps and continue to support me. But that's tenuous. The likelihood that this commune exists when I am in retirement age is very, very small. But I've gambled. So we will see what the future brings. I have investments, right? Like, I pay attention to money. I put money in little pots for the future, right? So, like, I guess that's what retirement plans are. Don't know really what you mean by retirement. It could mean any number of things. But, no, I never intend to stop working. I intend to give myself the kinds of labor that I can continue to do even when my body deteriorates. I hope that my mind is still here. I hope to be doing this when I'm 95. I hope to be 95 one day, and I hope to be doing this with you when I am 95. And I hope I can be supported in that distant time. Peach. I have 2 partners, and no, I am not worried about them cheating on me in my commune, because they already are. Good morning, Erica. I don't believe in the concept of cheating, maybe. We have relationships that are based on care and trust, and those relationships do not involve rules saying that you cannot engage with other people. It's not the structure of relationship that we have. Good morning, Erica. How are you doing? So, we are going to start a new story today. This is a story that we've read other versions of before. This story is The Descent of Inanna. Boop, boop, boop. The Descent of Inanna. That's the story. You could call it poly. Sometimes I call it polyamorous, many loves. I don't get on TikTok and make polyam content. I could position myself as some sort of relationship guru, but I don't, because I'm not that wise, and the circumstances regarding my intimate relationships are extremely specific, right? Like, I don't believe that it would have been possible in this way, or certainly it would have been significantly harder for my wife and I to open up our relationship had I not transitioned, right? The change in my gender made it very clear that our sexual needs were divergent, sort of just like palpably obvious in a way that didn't need to be negotiated around anymore. And so that made it quite easy to open up our relationship. And also the structure of our commune means that there are certain relationship patterns that are just easeful. And I don't know what polyam would look like if I didn't live on a commune and if I wasn't trans, right? And so because those things are highly specific, I don't really talk about them in a general sense. I don't make content about them. I don't advocate for them, right? My life is my life. My relationships are mine. And I don't want anyone else to be in this particular pattern, right? And if you can find a similar pattern that works for you, that's great. But I'm not the one to offer you advice on how to get there. Hey, Freedom. How are you? Hey, Puppy JD. That's a great name. What an interesting profile image. I like the orange background. Anyhow, we are going to read The Descent of Inanna. So this is the core myth. We've read a version of this before, The Descent of Ishtar, right? In this book. Here's The Descent of Ishtar. Yes, you could be in a commune without being polyamorous. For one thing, commune is not a category. Like, it is a category, but like every single community that I have ever visited or been a part of is extremely unique. And none of the communes that I frequent in my social circles mandate sexual practices of any kind. So yes, you could belong in a commune without being polyamorous, because membership in a commune is not contingent on who you're fucking. But also, there aren't that many communes in the world, and I'm not so sure it's a thing to aspire to belong to. But I'm jaded. Thank you for the soccer balls, Dr. Punk. How are you doing? It's really nice to see you. Hello, Teen Mom in Denmark. What's up with you? And hi, Teresa. Welcome. Welcome, all my friends. Goth girl vibe. That's what I got right now. You can figure that out, Giovanni. So, from the great above to the great below. We do put up Christmas trees from time to time. I'm not sure if we will this year, but we did last year. From the great above, she opened her ear to the great below. From the great above, the goddess opened her ear to the great below. From the great above, Inanna opened her ear to the great below. My lady abandoned heaven and earth to descend to the underworld. Inanna abandoned heaven and earth to descend to the underworld. She abandoned her office of the holy priestess to descend to the underworld. So there is a lacuna here. There's a plot gap, because these stories don't come in a consistent way, right? So where we were just reading in the collection of these stories, we had Inanna and Dumuzi doing the sexy things very vigorously and excitedly and metaphorically and actually. And then in the intervening time between the opening of their sexual relationship and now, Dumuzi died. That's the subtext that you don't know. Dumuzi died and went to the underworld, and Inanna is on a quest to get him back. That's the plot context. Dr. Punk, I'm so sorry. In order for me to think anything about who will win the World Cup, I would have to know who's playing in the World Cup, and I simply don't. Maybe we've talked about this briefly. I absolutely have some childhood trauma surrounding sports ball, because I did not do well in boys' gym classes. You can imagine. So from a very young age, I had just like extremely negative associations with team sports. And so to this day, I can't actually pay attention to sports without having a hard time. So my apologies for knowing nothing about your hobbies. I wish I did. I wish I were a more well-balanced person. And I don't watch very much TV and DJ. 50 times? 50 times what? I've told you that story 50 times? Probably. I do repeat myself often. You've been here 50 times, that's for sure. Anyway, Inanna's going to go to the underworld, and that's what I know how to talk to you about. I don't know how to talk to you about World Cups. Sorry. My lady abandoned heaven and earth to descend to the underworld. Inanna abandoned heaven and earth to descend to the underworld. She abandoned her office of the holy priestess to descend to the underworld. In Uruk, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. In Babditara, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. In Zablam, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. In Abdan, she abandoned her temple. In Nippur, she abandoned her temple. In Kish, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. In Akkad, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. She gathered together the 7 May of these 7 cities. She took them in her hands, and with the May in her possession, she prepared herself, right? So, Inanna left, right? Inanna's sacred presence, which is said to have dwelled in the temple, in the Holy of Holies in the temple, she removed them from all 7 temples that she was worshipped at, and she gathered them into herself, and then she descended into the underworld to rescue her fallen lover. She placed the Shugara, the crown of the steppe, on her head. She arranged the dark locks of hair across her forehead. She tied the small lapis beads around her neck. She doubled the strand of beads. She let the double strands of beads fall to her breasts. She wrapped the royal robe around her body. She daubed her eyes with the ointment called Let Him Come, because she is a sexy goddess. bound the breastplate called "Come, Man, Come" around her chest. She's a pornographer. Slipped the golden ring over her wrist, and took the lapis measuring rod and line in her hand. So, there's some holy numbers here, right? So she leaves the temples of the 7 cities, and she prepares herself to go to the underworld by putting on 7 articles of clothing, or 7 pieces of jewelry, or whatnot. And if you remember from the previous time we read this story, she goes through 7 gates, and upon each of the 7 gates she has to remove a piece of clothing, a piece of jewelry, such that when she reaches the bottoms, the depths of the below, to confront her evil sister, the queen of the dead, she is naked. But we will get to that another day. For now, we have to end at Inanna's preparation. And tomorrow I'll be back, and we can read about Inanna's quest down into the underworld. Thank you, Dr. Punk. You are an excellent moderator, and I appreciate you tremendously. So, who do you think is going to win the World Cup? Have you placed bets? We will now turn to a prayer of light. Arati means flame in Sanskrit. Jaya Jaya Arati Vina Vinayaka Vina Vinayaka Shri Ganesha Jaya Jaya Arati Subramanya Subramanya Kartikeya Jaya Jaya Arati Venugopala Venugopala Venuola Papa Vidura Navanita Chora Jaya Jaya Arati Venkanta Ramana Venkanta Ramana Sankatarana Sita Rama Radhe Shama Jaya Jaya Arati Gauri Manohara Gauri Manohara Bhavani Sankara Samma Sadashiva Maheshwara Jaya Jaya Arati Raja Rajeshwari Raja Rajeshwari Tripura Sundari Mahalakshmi Mahasaraswati Mahakali Mahashakti Jaya Jaya Arati Anjanaya Anjanaya Hanumanta Jaya Jaya Arati Dattatreya Dattatreya Trimutri Vatara Jaya Jaya Arati Adityaya Adityaya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jaya Arati Sanistaraya Sanistaraya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jaya Arati Sankaracharya Sankaracharya Advaita Gurave Jaya Jaya Arati Sadgurunata Sadgurunata Shivananda Jaya Jaya Arati Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Jaya Jaya Arati Agastya Munaye Agastya Munaye Shriyama Priyaye Jaya Jaya Arati Ayappa Swamine Ayappa Swamine Dharma Shastave Jaya Jaya Arati Jesus Gurave Moses Gurave Buddha Gurave Jaya Jaya Arati Muhammad Gurave Guru Nanak Gurave Samastya Grubho Namaha Jaya Jaya Arati Venugopala Natachasya Bhati Natanjakaratam Nimavidyo Bhati Kutayamagni Twameva Bantaman Mandi Sarvam Tasya Basya Samitam Vivanti Om Gange Kayamane Kaiva Govari Saraswati Narmade Siddhikaveri Hiyaha Namastitam Namo Namaha Twameva Mata Chapita Twameva Twameva Bandisha Saka Twameva Twameva Vidya Javinam Twameva Twameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Kayena Vacha Manasandriyarva Budyat Manava Prakrite Sabhavat Karomi Adyad Sakalam Parasmahe Narayana Iti Sarmar Payami Sarvajamam Pravichaya Mamikam Savadambraja Amsva Sarva Papayo Mokshaya Mimasicha Can someone tell Nora? I suppose I can, although I like it when other people do. This is a morning ritual. I do this basically every morning. Say old words from various traditions. This one is from India, and the language is Sanskrit. The word the name of the prayer is Arati, which means flame. It's a repetition of holy names. The last verse, translated into English, is whatever actions I perform with my body, speech, mind, senses, my intellect, my nature, or my emotions, all these I dedicate to you.
What if I don't like them?
You're a troll?
No, you say that you're dedicating all of your actions. But what if I disagree with your actions or your emotions or your attitudes?
You know, that's...
Which does happen all the time.
That's true. I think the spirit of it is that like, we don't live our lives for ourselves, right? That, like...
Do you believe that?
Yes. Like, and I don't believe that is a contradiction with the fact that I'm deeply selfish. In that... I mean, okay, so for one thing, the actual translation of this is I dedicate them to the Supreme Lord, but I don't want to dedicate anything to a Supreme Lord.
Because you don't believe in him.
Yeah,
you
but
don't like him. You do believe in him, but you don't like him.
Yeah, so, but some other concept, right, like, that could be inserted there rather than Supreme Lord, would be, you know, like...
Humanity.
Sure. Or, like, the way that I often consider it is, like, there is a thing that is alive that is bigger than any individual thing, right? The tree of life, right? Like, I am part of a lineage. I am part of a sequence of culture and genes and whatnot that, like, it is my duty to continue on, right? You don't care. You already know these answers. You're just making trouble.
No, I'm eliminating things for your devout followers.
Devout. I don't think they're devout.
Some of them are.
Some of them hang out with me a lot. Yeah, so it's like, I'm not... The way that I orient myself in the world is not around this physical body, right? But it's around something more abstract. Also, I'm just happy to hang out in the mornings with these people. So, like, in that sense, like, I'm dedicating these actions, like, these particular, like... Hey, I'm getting on TikTok and hitting the live stream button and saying these same things over and over and over again, and, like, absolutely those actions are dedicated to those people, like, quite literally and directly.
But kind of you've been taking those actions for a long time on a variety of platforms, regardless of whether or not other people were actually paying attention to them.
That is also true.
I am being a little bit of a troll. You're not wrong.
Yeah. I'm inconsistent and contradictory, and sometimes I do things that other people don't like. Yeah.
This cat minds it less when you sing than she used to.
Yeah, that's true. She used to be very bothered. Now she's less bothered.
Remember that we have a meeting in a minute. I said you were...
Yeah, we have a meeting in 15 minutes. Why are they giving me such a hard time? Because they love me. Basically. Hi, Kimmy. You know, it's really hard to be on time to these things, considering they start at very different times every day. Hi, Kimmy. How are you doing? So we have one more repetition, one more prayer to say before I have to go to a difficult meeting. And that is a prayer of mourning. It is a prayer of grief. Kadish. So the word Kadish means sacred or holy. It also means the name of this goddess, Kadish. Kadisha, the prostitute in the temple. Kadosh. Kadosh, Kadosh. The angels blocking the image of Yahweh as Jerusalem is being destroyed. Kiddush, the prayer we say over wine. And Kadish, a prayer of grief. We got snow last night. It's on the ground. I can see it. Little white powder sprinkled over everything. Just a little bit of salt. It's winter time, my friends. I don't like winter time. I much prefer summertime. I should move somewhere warm instead of a place that gets literally 6 months of winter every year. November, December, January, February, March, April. Yeah, there are 6 months every year that we get snow. Nuts. Okay. So we're going to say Kadish. Kadish is a prayer of grief. And we do that together to remind ourselves that even though we suffer, we do not suffer alone. For the last 2,500 years, my ancestors have been saying something like these words in response to death, and we will say them again today. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shema Rabbah. B'yama divrachiote v'yamlich malchite b'chayachon v'yamechon v'chayed kol beit Israel b'agala b'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shema Rabbah mevarach li'alam amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yirmam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shema dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata d'yamiran b'yama v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yachol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Ose shalom b'mirmav huya ase shalom aleinu v'yachol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Ose shalom b'mirmav huya ase shalom aleinu v'yachol Yisrael v'imru v'imru. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Truly thank you. Despite what my partner said, I do dedicate all of this to you. So I am grateful for your presence here. If you would like to support this stream and this work that we do here together, you could check out the links in my bio. You can support stream on Patreon, or with a one-time tip, or through a TikTok subscription, or just by saying nice things to me, or sending little TikTok tips, or anything, right? By posting cute custom emojis. Thank you, Kimmy. This dress does not quite match this top, right? It should be a little darker black, but I just, I wanted to feel a little bit fancy, so I did something a little bit incongruous for the sake of speed. All of your presents and all of your gifts makes a huge, huge difference in my life. A difference that I could not possibly describe to you, given the limitations of this platform. But I'm very grateful. So thank you. And I will see you here tomorrow to say these words all over again. And until then, I hope you have a really lovely day. Farewell.